All right, go ahead. You have the floor. To unmute is *6.
Good afternoon. I'm Officer Robertson with Code Enforcement. I'm on the call via phone, so I can't really put my information in the chat, but I just want to let you know I'm here. So when we get to that portion, I'm here.
Okay, thank you. I will call you in just a moment. Let me get through both our fire department and our police department first, and then I'll call on you next.
Yes, ma'am.
So first up, we have Captain Jared Purinton. Apologize. He's with Atlanta Fire Battalion 1. You have the floor.
You pronounce it correct. Thank you. That's rare. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Thank you. Good evening, NPU-Y and Madam Chair. My name is Captain Jared Purinton. I'm the representative for Atlanta Fire Battalion 1 this evening. I don't think I've ever had the pleasure to attend one of these NPU-Y meetings, so thank you for allowing me to speak. In case you haven't noticed, winter seems to have finally arrived. This time of year for the next 3 months is kind of our peak season for heating fires, particularly here in Atlanta. So just some general housekeeping rules and fire safety. You want to keep those space heaters 3 feet from anything that could catch fire. I know a lot of people like to plug those space heaters into extension cords so they can put them right at their feet. But you really don't want to use extension cords and surge protectors with those things. They're not designed to handle the high electrical current that those devices require. So please don't use extension cords, plug them right into your home's electrical outlet. 'Tis the season also to make sure that chimney is cleaned. That's something that gets overlooked quite often. You want to have a professional clean and inspect your chimney. Also, this time of year, we like to mix things like decorations and candles around our house, which is, looks pretty, but is very dangerous. So you want to make sure you're keeping those things separate. You're not mixing in candles with your holiday decorations. And if you are one of the few people that still has a real Christmas tree in your house, make sure you are watering that thing as often as it needs it. If you've never seen what a dry Christmas tree can do, if it catches fire, it can cause a lot of damage and put your family in danger pretty quickly. So keep those trees watered. You want to make sure you've got working smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors on all levels of your home. Even if you don't have gas appliances, it's still smart to have a carbon monoxide detector in your house. Sometimes you may warm your car up in the driveway or in your garage. Even if you open the garage, that stuff can still seep into your home. So you want to have those detectors inside your home on every level. And as always at the firehouse, we have smoke detectors and car seats. To save you a wasted trip, we ask that you do call ahead of time so that we can make sure we have exactly what you're looking for. And I can put the phone number in the chat if people would like that. And that's all I have. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Thank you. Heather, you have the floor.
Hey, Jared, would you mind dropping your name and information in the chat, please?
I can.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from the floor? All right, I see none. Thank you very much, Captain. We appreciate you coming on and we look forward to hearing from you in the future.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Next, I call Captain Pettis from APD Zone 3. You have the floor.
Hey, good evening, everyone. I'm going to give you the numbers for the crime in November as compared to October. We had 0 homicides. We had 5 aggravated assaults compared to 7 in October. 2 of those were domestic violence related. We had 4 robberies as compared to 5 in October. We had 2 burglaries as compared to 2 in October, and keeping with the current ratio that we've seen year to date, 1 of those was construction related. So 1 of 2, it was either a renovation job or a construction job. We had 8 auto thefts compared to 5 in October, and 6 of those auto thefts were either a Kia or a Hyundai, also unfortunately keeping with the trend for this year. We only had 6 larceny from autos, that means car break-ins, compared to 17 in October. we had 13 larcenies that were not from a vehicle compared to 15 in October. And 8 of those 13 were from the Family Dollar at 1723 Lakewood, shoplifting. And the total crime count was 30 last month compared to 36 in October. And that is all that I have, unless there are questions for me.
I open the floor to questions for our captain at APD. Jimmy Moore, you have the floor.
Hey, good evening. This may or may not be the right point in time, but in regards to enforcement of the no parking signs at the mouth of the 166 on ramp and off ramp, you know, it's become a truck stop. As far as enforcement with that, is that APD or is that another entity we should petition to start the enforcement? Because signs are up, but nobody's seemed to pay attention.
I believe that that's Georgia State Patrols, but we've sent our folks out there before. I'll make a note of it. We'll look into it. I know exactly what you're talking about.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. Heather, you have the floor.
Could you please share your contact information in the chat, Captain Pettis?
It's there. I was the first one. Do you not
Do you
see
mind
it?
resharing it? You may have joined the meeting before I did. Sorry, need to put it in the notes.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you, Heather. Do you have any questions? Gloria.
Yeah, hey, Captain Pettis, can you share any of the Beat 307 specific initiatives that Major Rickers instituted, if you can, real quickly?
For the past 3 months, we were getting really killed with burglaries on 307's beat, which is the major intersection would be Lakewood and Jonesboro, but it runs all the way back up Sawtell to McDonough. That area is the one where the most renovated houses are in the zone. So we were getting hit with regular burglaries where folks were stealing appliances and mainly fridges and washers and dryers. They were ripping the copper out the wall. They were stealing the AC units from outside the homes. Then we focused our crime suppression unit on that beat specifically. And now a couple of days a week, we're moving our bike unit over there from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. We've also changed the hours of the overnight officer. They usually work 11 p.m. until 7 a.m. on 307's beat. But about the last month and a half, we've moved them up to 8 p.m. until 4 a.m., which seems to be helping. That's when a lot of like the drug related, the violent crimes would occur. So we think we've got a nice mix between paying some attention to the foot traffic and the folks that would be buying drugs. Of course, with drugs come guns and violent behavior, and also the late evening, early morning hours for the burglaries. So those are the initiatives, if you will, that we've started there, and we're going to continue.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I do have a question in the chat. There's a Family Dollar. Is there camera integrated in the VIC system where officers can view in real time?
No. And I went by that Family Dollar Wednesday of last week, just because we spend an exorbitant amount of time there. It's really not fair to the rest of 307's beat. We've been there 460 times year to date, which is about triple any other business in that area. They have no security. They have no responsibility for anything because they're not a top 50 theft location in the country, is what I was told. So yeah, they don't care. It's just up to us to babysit them. So it'd be nice if we could get some pressure from y'all to try to have them take some accountability for what takes place at their store.
Thank you. I think that as a community, we'll look into that. Are there any other questions for Captain Pettis? Okay, I see none. Thank you, Captain, for all that you do in our neighborhood.
You're welcome.
I do have a quick chat though. Do we have a contact for that owner at the Family Dollar?
I couldn't even get the general manager's name. I just got the the actual manager who was there, his general manager wouldn't share his information with me. The manager that I spoke to, his first name's Khalil.
Okay. Hopefully we can look into this and get some more information for.
You know what? I misspoke. I have the manager or the general manager's information. I don't have the security manager's information who was supposed to call me back. If Gloria, I can email you the actual manager's name when I get to work tomorrow. I don't have it on me.
Thank you very much, Captain Pettis. Thank you. But
You're welcome.
Nicole, if I can just add my understanding from Sergeant Wolf that it's not just us. These Family Dollar and Dollar General stores are being hit all over the city. I think there was like 550 robberies on the book since the beginning of the year. So I just wanted folks to know that they are a source of problems for everybody right now.
Shopliftings, not robberies.
Well, I don't know.
There might be a few robberies.
There's a few robberies. The one at Ralph David Abernathy was a robbery.
Right, but we've probably got 200 shopliftings just at this one at 1723.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you. You have a great night as well. And I
You
do
too.
see your contacts or your comments in the chat here about maybe reaching out to corporate for them. Hopefully we can get our community on board to submit a letter for that. Cody, I see you have your hand raised. Cody P, you have the floor.
Sorry about that. Appreciate your time. Officer Pettis, you said that they said we were in the top 50 of what for that store as to why they didn't have extra security measures.
I believe that he may have already logged off.
They said that we were not in the top 50 highest crime family dollars in the United States, which is why they don't care.
The top 50 highest crime. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your question. Okay, so moving on, we will go to 311 code enforcement. You have the floor.
I'm Officer Robertson with APD Code Enforcement. I wasn't able to put my contact information in the chat, so I'll do it now. My email address is Edward Dog, ROBERSON @atlanta.ga.gov. My number is 404-546-3869. I'm not sure how long I will be the contact person for NPU-Y. There are some staffing changes that will be coming up shortly. So I do have a few stats for you for the period of September the 1st, 2022 to November the 30th, 2022. The number of highly hazardous cases in NPU-Y was 13. The number of property maintenance cases in NPU-Y was 58 for a total of 71 cases for that period. Of course, it's getting cold now, so a lot of things are not growing like they were growing, but we're still doing a lot of overgrowth cases that are old cases. We also deal with junk vehicles, typical property maintenance like flaking and peeling paint, junk, trash, and debris. And the biggest thing, or the biggest push right now, will be our campaign to eliminate junk vehicles. Junk vehicles or anything that is in the yard that cannot be driven on city streets legally. Even if it's in your yard and it's running, but it does not have a current license and registration on it, the little tag, is considered by us a junk vehicle because it can't be driven on the city streets legally. That's about all I have. I can field some questions, trying to keep it short and to the point.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Jonah, I see your hand raised. You have the floor.
Thank you. I had called, there was an accident in front of my home where one of the power poles was hit by a vehicle and is cracked and going to fall onto the street. This is at Boulevard Southeast. And so I called 311, made a report, got a report number, nothing happened. I made another report and nothing has happened. Is there somebody that you can suggest so that this doesn't fall onto passing cars or people walking their dogs? Or this pole also happens to hold the main electrical power for the whole block. So if it falls down, then we're all going to be out of electricity as well.
Is this a Georgia Power pole? I will contact Georgia Power. If not, if it's a city pole, you can contact, I would call through the back and reference.
Could you say that one more time? You're a little muffled.
I'm sorry. I would call back 311 and reference the case number that they gave you originally, and they should be able to give you an update.
Okay, thank you.
Based on that case number.
Thank you. Heather, you have the floor.
A topic of discussion in the Lakewood meeting last week was around the abandoned MARTA bus at around 1934 Lakewood Avenue. I know that groups have been out there to try to get it removed, but what needs to happen? It's been there for way too long. It's a place of crime. What needs to happen to get that removed from the area?
There's a MARTA bus.
It's an abandoned MARTA bus that's been like spray painted black. I'm not saying MARTA left it there themselves, but yes, it's a huge MARTA bus that's just been abandoned for at least 2 years.
Wow. Is it on the city street or in a parking lot? Or?
It's just on the lot of 1934 Lakewood Avenue. It's a small little lot between Lakewood and Lakewood Terrace.
And 1934 is a vacant lot, correct?
Correct.
I don't have that address on the sheet I'm looking at. I'll make a note and I'll follow up with you. If need be, we can open up a case for a junk vehicle on that lot. And that's 1934 Lakewood Avenue.
Yep, I believe that's correct. Would it be helpful for the community to continue filing 311 tickets?
Yes, ma'am. What I would do is call 311 and file a junk vehicle report for that particular address. I'll look back in the system when I get back to work or this evening once I get off this call, and I'll see if there's an open case. If it is, I'll follow up with it. If not, I'll create one myself for it.
Great.
If there isn't one already created. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Gloria, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you. I actually was going to ask the same question that Heather did, but I don't think you have to reinvent the wheel. If you check with Officer Cofield, I'm assuming she's still in place. She'd been given regular updates on it. And I think last the community saw that there was a cadre of officers and so forth and so on, as if they were really trying to figure it out, but that's been a few weeks. But Officer Cofield, Cynthia Cofield, was giving us fairly updates. So if you check with her, you may be able to get right to the inquiries.
Okay, I'll follow. She's actually out on she's not in the office and that well this week, but I will follow up with her. There should be notes in the system, so I'll be able to check on that and I can relay back some information, updated information.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do have a comment in the chat, and because I know you can't see the chat. Off of Claire Drive Southeast, there is excessive leaves covering construction debris. I would suggest to Nikki Garcia to call into 311 and see if that can be addressed that way. However, if you are able to address it here.
What was the address?
It's 116 Claire Drive Southeast, and it looks as though there's construction and they don't have a clear sidewalk, and with the excessive debris that's covering their construction debris, it's causing a danger to pedestrians.
I don't have that on the sheet, but I will follow up with it.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Are there any other calls for APD code enforcement or any comments, questions? Jimmy Moore, you have the floor.
Hey, just one more issue maybe for code. There's a broken and leaning light pole on Lakewood Terrace, just near Compton, and I'm not sure the side street that runs to the park off of Lakewood Terrace. That's right behind the Boys Club. Does anybody know that street, or is anybody aware of the light pole? Maybe know what that street is. But nonetheless, there's a broken light pole on Lakewood as well. I don't know if that's something you can write down as well, or should I just dial 311 for that as well?
I would put it, I would dial through one because that's gonna be actually a different department. It won't be code, that'll be, public works. That'll be public works department.
They may be presenting. Maybe I'll just bring it back up with them. Sorry about that.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you. I appreciate all the work that you do. Thank you for joining our call today. All
Yes,
right,
ma'am, no problem.
thank you. Moving on to Gerard Jackson with Parks and Recreation. Gerard, you have the floor.
Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's having a wonderful holiday season, and I hope you and your family is safe this season. Few updates I wanted to talk about. The city of Atlanta is aware of the lighting issue that we have going out throughout the park. What's going on is somebody's actually stealing the copper wiring as we fix those lights. Somebody's vandalizing the lights and stealing the copper out of them. So we are working with APD to try to get that rectified, but right now that is the issue. So if you come through the park and it's dark sometimes, that is the reason for that. We are currently working on that. A little bad news, we did install some spotlights up at the field because all the lights at the field area was vandalized. Well, I want to say about 3 weeks ago, someone vandalized those portable lights and ripped them apart and took the batteries out. So we had no choice but to remove those lights. So currently right now, there is no lights going from the gate that's located off of Compton all the way up to the field at night. We are trying to work on that situation, try to find a more permanent solution for it. But right now we're working on trying to get that fixed. Also want to let everybody know that we are having a problem with crime, especially prostitution in our park. Every time me or my staff see it, we call the police, but we do want to pull in the community and say, if you see anything strange going on in your park, please contact APD so we can try to curve that. Years back, we did successfully curve it, but after COVID happened and, we went at the site for a while, it has come in force. So please protect yourself, your family. And if you see anything weird in the park, please, please, please call APD. Also want to let everybody know that we are going to have track this year at the location. We are starting track practice in February. Also want to let everybody know some good news. I finally got approval to have soccer at South Bend next year. I'm actually working with an organization right now to get that solidified. As soon as we get the dates and everything set in stone, I will present it to you guys so we can make sure the community is involved with this new endeavor at our location. At this time, if there's any questions or concerns dealing with our parks and rec, let me know.
Thank you so much. Do I have any questions or comments? Okay, I see no raised hands. Thank you very much, Officer Lawrence. I appreciate you coming to the call. Thank you for getting the soccer approval.
All right, thank you for everybody. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Do I have any other representatives for city departments in the chat?
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, how are you? Everyone, I'm Officer Lawrence. I'm with the City of Atlanta Department of Public Works. I'm with the SWEET team. So I just wanted to give everybody, so I can get the difference between code enforcement and SWEET. We actually handles everything on the right of way. Code enforcement handles private property. I did get a couple of questions about the utility poles. That would be something again that Georgia Power would have to look into. Public Works does not deal with utility poles, and from my understanding, nor does the Department of Transportation do that anymore. If all of that goes to Georgia Power. But if you all have a request to submit it, it relates to any right-of-way violations, any education that's needed. Going to ask that you all submit it through 311. We will get someone out to investigate within 48 hours. But I want everyone to please keep in mind, it doesn't mean that everything will be resolved in 48 hours because most of the residents that I have been encountering lately, they're not the owners of the property. So sometimes I have to actually reach out to the owners. So sometimes it just takes a little longer. So I just ask that you all be patient. A lot of violations that I have been getting lately it relates to containers being left on the road. Again, I know that it seems minor, but it is a violation. So I will ask everyone, please, your containers are not allowed at the curb until the day before your scheduled pickup day by 7 p.m. And they have to be removed the following day after collection before 9 a.m. So you all please pass that word along, but it is a ordinance and it has to be followed. Update this week, we know the holidays are coming up, which relates to Christmas and New Year's. We will not have any delay in service, so keep that in mind. Please put your containers at the curb for doing your regular scheduled collection. There will be no delay. Other than that, I don't have anything else. I put my information in the chat, but I'll stand by for any questions or concerns.
Thank you, Officer Lawrence. Gloria, I see your hand raised. You have the floor.
Thank you, ma'am. Officer Lawrence, again, all of Lakewood has put in several 311 requests for the trash that starts from Compton right to the end of Lakewood Terrace. It's a one-way street, but it increases by day. Apparently there was an encampment within the woods that has kind of surfaced because of the cold. Are you the right person to personally appeal to see that we can get that?
I've been over there already. I've
Okay.
submitted a request. It's probably gonna take them a couple of weeks to get out there. I put in one for delittering as well as anything that was dumped over there, the tires, the excess trash, and for everything to be cut down. So just give it a couple of weeks. A crew should be out there.
Thank you.
And they'll have it done in a couple of weeks. Just give it a couple of weeks though.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. No problem.
Thank you. Valera, you have your hand raised. You have the floor.
I must have shared the link with someone and my name is showing up as them. So I don't know exactly who that is.
That's me. That's Kelly. So I didn't realize it was coming up like that is so weird. Okay. I'm not sure if this goes to you, Officer Lawrence, but we've been having a big issue on Lakewood Terrace with people going the wrong direction on that one way. Like we're having to honk at the people to get them to stop. And of course, they just keep going. I don't know if you handle it or who I need to talk to, but is there a way we can get some more one-way signage up along that street? Because
you need more one-way signage.
Yes, because I mean, it literally, people are coming down that street fast to the point where it could cause a head-on collision.
Yes, that's true. I saw it 2 days ago.
Yeah.
But that would Department of Transportation, they will
Okay.
actually put up the signs.
Okay.
Yes, that's the who does the signs. It'll be Department of Transportation.
Okay.
Thank you.
I did.
Go ahead.
I did see I seen something in here about Fair Drive. So I did visit Fair Drive myself personally for a request that was submitted. I seen the furniture that was actually in the woods over there. It wasn't on the right of way, so it's nothing that my department can actually go in and actually remove. It's actually considered private property. So that was something that we couldn't remove at that time. Although I did see something about Parsons between Claire and Adair. I do go over there and submit requests for that. Some have been removed. It's more over there. I will go out over there before the week is out and submit another request for any additional trash that's over there in the area. But again, if you all see anything or you guys would like anything addressed, just go through 311, submit a request. And I ask that you all do that because just say if I'm out of the office, we can get someone else to actually address it. So it wouldn't be just hanging around in the crew. So if you guys go through 311, submit a request, we'll get someone out there. It doesn't necessarily have to be me because if I'm out of the office, I want to make sure it's still being handled. So just go directly through 311.
I can't figure out how to raise my hand. I don't mean to just interject. Officer Lawrence, I'm the one that said this is Eden Mills. I'd said something about the furniture being dumped. And then you had mentioned, I know what property you're speaking on with the new furniture setup. I think it's some homeless people that have set up that little area. But what I'm speaking about is the trash and the littering and the furniture and the tires being dumped on Fair Drive.
Pick Fair?
No, ma'am, it's Fair, just Fair Drive. It's the side street that connects right there from, um,
From the
on,
amphitheater coming there.
like where you saw the furniture. If you turn
Mhm.
left on that street, that where the
Yes, that's
stop
Pick
sign
Fair.
is.
Yes,
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
Pick Fair.
Pick
Yes.
Fairway. Pick Fairway,
Mhm.
yes. I live on Pick Fair Avenue. But our neighborhood has our own group, Me Chat, and some of my neighbors have actually taken it upon themselves to call someone to actually pick it up because I know that they had mentioned submitting numerous tickets and emails to 311, but this has been ongoing almost the 10 years that I've lived over here. But recently, especially during COVID, but just recently, a couple of months ago, there was literally a whole U-Haul of furniture and appliances and things that were just recently dumped off. Um, I think it's because I'm not sure if this is your division or if you're in charge of this, but the trees are kind of overgrown and there's a lot of brush on the street. And a lot of the signs that say no illegal dumping are hidden now, and it's a side street. So I know a lot of people come through that street really fast, but it's not very well lit either. And we've just been having a lot of issues with that here of late, which is bringing unwanted foot traffic to our neighborhood as well.
Okay. I will go, I've been over there, I can tell you twice. Within this 2 weeks I've been over there. I have submitted requests for removal. I will ask for additional signs. But if you all see anybody dumping, I ask that you do not approach them. But if you have any videos, pictures of tag numbers or things like
Okay.
try and, eliminate people because once people find that they are actually getting caught for it, that we can stop it. We'll look into later maybe cameras being added, but right now I can't provide that information as far as the cameras because it'll have to come from upper management, but we can also see about that later. But
Okay.
just trust that this site is actually a dump site. So it's on my list that is actually visited at least twice or maybe 3-4 times a month. So it's not being watched by me. It's just that I haven't been able to find anything to hold anybody accountable. So the only thing that I can do is submit a request and have them removed. Now, when I submit the correct request, it's not removed immediately. So it's a process. So it takes a couple of days or maybe a week and a half or so for it's removed. So that's why sometimes I just ask for a little patience with it. I know you don't want to see it when you're coming home, but that's just the process right now at that time. But just assure that I am working over there in the area and I'm making sure requests are being submitted for removal.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. I know that some cameras have been added on the end of the street. There's the two neighbors that are on the corners there have been monitoring that because they're the first ones to actually say anything on our group chat about trying to catch license plates and not being not going up to anybody or trying to be like the street police themselves.
Yes.
But just trying to be a little bit more proactive and catching the people because the times that they do it are late at night, when it's dark and nobody can see them. So that's another issue as well. But I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Okay, you're
Ethan.
welcome, no problem. And you have my email information in the chat. So if you have any additional questions or concern, I can be any more of assistance. Please feel free.
Okay, thank you so much and have a great holiday.
Thank you. You do the same.
I do have a comment in the chat, and then Melody, you'll be up next. There is an area, it's off of Lansing Street between Thayer and Besby, and they were asking if anybody from 311 has been over there.
Yes, I did one for Third
Melody.
Hill, but I will contact Miss Melody again. I got a request for Third Hill. Lansing wasn't in there, but I got one for Third Hill. She relating to the containers. But I can reach out to Melody and we'll talk about it if she would like later.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Wonderful, thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to speak on, Melody?
No, we'll chat about the Lansing, because I did put in a request at 311 for both Deerkill and Lansing. Thanks.
Okay, but I did get compliance on Third Kill. I did get compliance over there. I went over there and issued a couple of courtesy notices, so those have been removed. So you and I check about Lansing. I got Third Kill.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Are there any more questions for Officer Lawrence? Okay, and see no hands raised. We'll go ahead and move on.
Okay, happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you, Officer Lawrence. I appreciate all that you do for us.
Thank you.
All right, are there any other public officials on the call that do not have their information in the chat yet? Please raise your hand. Okay. And I do not see any elected officials in the chat at the moment. Are there any on that I do not see?
Madam Chair, I took a look and there are none. I don't see any others as well.
Okay, so moving on, we will be giving our committee reports at this time. So we will call to our first committee, which is zoning, land use, and code enforcement. That would be Jacob Mills and co-chair Bob Morris. Either one of you may have the floor.
Hey guys, this is Jacob. I know Bob's, I think Bob is traveling this evening. So for code enforcement, we have, I believe it is 2. Is that correct, Madam Chair?
There were
There were 2 that came up on the agenda for the SAP at the, one was for the property that was located in historic South Atlanta. I believe it was, correct me if I'm wrong, 556 McDonough. Is that correct?
yes, it is.
So there were a few objections regarding that particular SAP from a couple of the constituents from the NPU-Y regarding heights, parking, and those types of things. There were recommendations that were put forward for that SAP, and then the other SAP that was for McDonough Boulevard. Is that what was the address there?
133.
133. That was the one that was in 133. McDonough was in historic South Atlanta. That was the triangular lot. And 556 was in Chosewood Park. And that was for a commercial lot. The opposition from the neighborhood from Chosewood Park was that the developer was asking for 102, I think it was either 102 or 104 units, all to be affordable housing, 1-bedroom apartments. And I see in the chat SAP. SAP is a special administration permit, which is, sorry to use the acronyms. The special administration permit is something that the zoning committee uses as an acronym to describe the type of condition or changing of a particular lot, not through the form of having it rezoned, but through the form of making changes to the lot that aren't within the floor area ratio, which is FAR, or the differences or using conditions within the zoning itself. So that particular SAP, the neighborhood in Chosewood Park had brought up the issue with parking. Parking was a major issue within the BeltLine overlay. They have reduced and relaxed the amount of parking that is required. So the neighborhood felt that as if 102 single bedroom apartments with 52 parking spaces would not be adequate The neighborhood also suggested and pushed back on the fact that this is in the commercial zone for Chosewood Park, that it should be utilized with the zoning that it has. It has commercial. It's actually zoned C2C, so commercial 2 with conditions. So the developer was trying to use the conditions to go around using any commercial space. So there were definitely a few pushbacks from the neighborhood on that SAP. The other SAP that is, like I mentioned before, 133, I had the address wrong. I apologize for that, Madam Chair. 133 on McDonough was more along the lines of the applicant had not spoken with adjacent neighbors. There were the same concerns regarding parking with that particular application, and possibly some of the height, requirements that were along that. The only other thing that I would like to add is the developers are no longer required to come to the NPU as a whole regarding special administration permits. They are only required to come if there are actual zoning changes. So I would recommend that if anyone has the opportunity, and if each one of the communities in the NPU-Y can continuously add the new applications that come aboard so that people can be aware of what developments are coming and what is happening. That way they can stay abreast of what's going to be happening around them and how that might be affecting them, and they can make their comments and put their information and have their voices heard at the city level to either oppose or to approve these types of things. So please start looking at wherever you can find this information on your neighborhood websites or on the NPU. Hopefully you guys will continue to add this to the NPU page as well and update this so that people can be informed and make their own decisions, and chime in with their opinions on how these developments affect our neighborhood. So that's all from the zoning committee. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Paul, you have the floor. Paul McMurray, you may have the floor.
Yeah, this is Paul McMurray. I'm on the zoning committee as well, and Jacob described 556. We've done it correctly, but 133 McDonough is in the South Atlanta neighborhood, and Yvonne Dixon, with the help of our chairperson, wrote up a description of opposition. Well, not opposition, but the fact that it was a 3-story building and it was out of place in what was once a single family zoned area, but it's zoned MR2 now, so they can do it. However, because the effort was taken and communication was made with the planner, this SAP has been moved to the January SAP agenda. So the South Atlanta neighborhood does have an opportunity to at least weigh in at their next meeting. So there was a positive outcome there.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
That's all I gotta say.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate your comment. And just to clarify, the 2 chairpersons for the zoning committee is Jacob Mills and Robert Morris. They are co-chairs. So while Paul is very knowledgeable and does assist on it, I just want to clarify your point of contacts are Jacob Mills and Robert Morris. Gloria, you may have the floor.
Yeah, thanks. Jacob, thanks a lot. But sometimes I think it might be helpful to the body, like someone wanted to know what the acronym SAP stood for, to kind of show the distinction, like under zoning issues, there's not there, the developers has to come before the community. The community gets to chime in whether they want it or not. But with the SAP process, seems like it was a bit more onerous because it wasn't underlying. But if you know, Jacob, if you will just kind of explain it to folks, that many of us are neophytes, including myself, but and specifically with this 556, I thought when you all appeared to even let the body know that this SAP process by which the community can even appear before a hearing is brand new, I think less than 6 months old. But I thought specifically at 556, one of the compelling issues was the impact of the developers on the adjacent community and the inordinate burden on the streets based on only having 50 slots. I thought perhaps that was the most compelling issue there. Is that not the case?
Well, to that point, Gloria, I'll answer that one first. The parking from the resident side and from the neighborhood side is definitely the biggest issue. But from the city's side and the way that they view it, because the laws are allowing in the BeltLine overlay, which Chosewood Park is, they allow for those minimum parking requirements. So technically, I don't believe they have to put any parking spaces if they don't want to. The problem entails, where do you have, I would say that, and I understand the point of view from the BeltLine overlay and the way that they are trying to communicate that, but if they don't allow for proper developments, if you build nothing but workforce housing and continue to push that in the neighborhood with no actual commercial space, then you are essentially making people have to have vehicles to travel around. And affordable housing, I believe, has something to do with maybe possibly not using a car. So utilizing the zoning for what it was the biggest issue that we were able to push on that particular site. It would be not using the zoning for its intended use. They are it's a commercial district with and Paul continues to bring this up with the single family housing and density and things. And so using the zoning as what it's currently zoned as is why it's very important. And so with it having a commercial zoning first, two being its density and the conditions being last, and the developer coming in looking to take advantage of the opportunity tax zone, the BeltLine overlay, in doing what's best for the developer as compared to what's best for the neighborhood was essentially the biggest issue. Not utilizing that for commercial space. I don't know if you guys are aware or not, but our only actual commercial space we have that's being utilized in the proper way is a Chevron station. So Chosewood Park is a food desert. We share the same things that are going on in a lot of the other neighborhoods in the NPU-Y, which is why we want to see developers either rezone or utilize properties in a proper way. And so with that one, it not only violated, obviously that one particular intended use, but the also went against what the neighborhood, Chosewood Park, had put together for its comprehensive development plan. As far as setbacks, incorporating green spaces, sidewalks, activity spaces, those types of things.
Thank you, Jacob. And I do want to clarify, as stated in the comments, SAP process is not new. What is new is how it comes before the neighborhoods and the NPU, and how we get to comment as the public. So the new SAP process is that the state requires a public hearing. That public hearing is announced on the Atlanta website with an agenda, so you can see what SAPs are going to be announced on which month's meeting. So those are reviewed during our zoning committee meetings. So please attend our zoning committee meetings, which are held monthly. You can also find information about zoning on the NPU.org website, NPU-Y.org website, which is under renovation. So it's a little different now, but we have now a page that is designated to zoning information. Thank you, Troy, and to our web developer for putting that together, because it is very informative and will help you understand the process. Of course, if you have additional questions, please reach out to our zoning board, our zoning committee. They can absolutely assist with any direct questions on a SAP or rezoning application in your area. As we move on, I do want to ask that everybody holds their comments and questions till the end, just for the sake of time, since it is 8 o'clock. Please raise your hand and we'll get to those questions afterwards. Our next committee is our Transportation and Public Works, which is Jeff Depp. I do not see him on the call though. No, I do know that we do have an update for the McDonough Bridge, which is still scheduled for a December opening. So we'll see if end of December, if that will be open for January usage. We do not have an update outside of that. That was our last update from our transportation. Moving on to public safety, Gloria Hawkins.
Yeah, hey, thanks. Piggybacking on Captain Pettis, serious violent crimes are down in Zone 3, although larcenies are up. Some will attribute the serious violent crimes as part of the 55 count indictment, which netted 28 defendants in the Southeast Quadrant fairly under the YSL gang membership. So again, serious violent crimes are down, larcenies are up. Again, only one of the things that we all know is much of the crime has been centered in Zone 3 and Beat 307, which is basically Lakewood Heights is the epicenter of that Zone 3. According to Major Ricker, the Zone 3 beat officers have been prohibited from taking 911 calls from any jurisdiction other than 307. I got this report, it's a month old at this point, but since the beginning of the year, there have been 1,600 traffic stops in Zone 3, specifically the 307, 305 area, 218 arrests. Now this data is it's at least 30 days old, but I think we got the most recent updates from Captain Pettis in terms of the stats. It seemed like there's a decrease in some, same issue with larcenies. They're multifaceted, primarily under construction, new construction or unoccupied premises. It's the jugular, it's the appliances, it's the copper. Again, I think you heard earlier that we've been able to borrow from different jurisdictions. The crime suppression unit is one, as well as the bike officers out of Georgia State. They've been coming on Saturday and have made a few arrests. And I think I mentioned at the Lakewood meeting that many think, well, what can bike officers do? What they can do, they attempted a stop at 1634, which is the food mart that has been on our agenda for a liquor license for months now. They attempted a stop and the perpetrator just kind of disregarded them. They, again, Radiohead found them at Milton. There were guns and marijuana and some other drugs, but primarily marijuana distribution amount. So the arrest was made. And again, thanks to the, we heard earlier, Family Dollar. I don't know what Captain Pettis, I had a little different data on that. My understanding, there's been both shoplifting, but there's been several burglaries at that location. And it is a picture of a bigger area issue of robberies of those dollar stores in general, Family Dollar and Dollar General in general. And my understanding is there's only a very limited number of investigators who are assigned to the robbery unit. Much of the problem is they don't wear BWC, the body worn camera, so that people are unwilling to be interviewed, and it's made it very difficult, I think, to crack a lot of those cases. I think that is the, if you will forward in the chat, the Citizens Police Academy is open and taking applications. You know, every time I say that, a lot of people go, I don't want to be indoctrinated by the police. I think anyone on this call who's actually participated in that academy, it's 8 weeks, 3 nights a week, I think Wednesday, but it's procedure according to case law. It is excessive force use. It's a 911 visit. It is, and much of this takes place adjacent to us, right over at Metropolitan College. That's where most of these classes are being held. But I encourage everyone. I think, again, it's a bit more, I found it to be very informative in that it spoke to me directly on identity theft. Identity theft is one, active shooter, well, how to protect yourself when there's an active shooter. So there you are, pretty much. I think that's the jugular.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Our next is Park, Beltlines, and Environment. Rebecca Robbins, do you have the floor? Robinson, sorry.
Have an event coming up at South Bend Park on January 29th. Jimmy will be hosting. Thanks, Jimmy. This is with our partner Eco Addendum, and we're trying to also get volunteers from Hands on Atlanta. I'll be posting up flyers. I'm working on them right now with Eco Addendum. I'll be posting them up around the community. But I hope to see as many of you there as possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up is education. Monique Nunley, you have the floor.
Hello, everybody. I'm Monique. I'm the chair of Education Committee. We did not meet this month. We normally have like December dinner time. So my Education Committee, I'll reach out and find time to eat with you all. But last month, because our time was cut short due to the elections, I want to recap. So we discussed the charter school. There's a charter school called Tapestry, and they are interested in getting a letter of support. I would like to invite the board member who reached out to us, the Education Committee, to the January meeting so that they can share their work and ask for official request on the call, a letter of support, if that is something the body would like to consider. Our committee was not in support of the Tapestry Charter School due to a huge decline and projection of decline in enrollment in our schools currently. We are projected to lose a significant amount of students. I can definitely provide those projections to anybody who's interested and post them on our website. But our school cluster is projected to have the second highest decline in student enrollment in the entire district other than the Douglas cluster. And so with that being said, we would invite, or if we have invited or the district decides to invite another charter school into our community, because we have unoccupied buildings in our community, and they would possibly be able to be awarded one of those based on the policy of APS, then potentially they would, in a lack of a better word, be able to send those students because they would have an APS zone where any APS student would be able to go to their schools and be proximate to our parents for additional choice options. We have the lion's share of choice options in 30315 and 30310. We have the primarily most of them. And so at this point, I think, you know, our committee shared that we just need a break from sharing support for more charters, considering most of the charters exist in our community. But I would ask the chair to extend an invitation next month so that they can share their interest, and then we can officially vote to either approve or affirm a letter of support or not as a body. The other thing we discussed was we had outstanding policy initiatives with Atlanta Public Schools. One of them is working to get parent notifications sent home to parents when students don't have teachers. Post-pandemic, a lot of students do not have teachers, and according to federal regulation, after 20 consecutive days of not having an in-field teacher, notification should be sent home to parent, even for maternity leave, sick leave, or what have you. And that currently, we are unsure of what the current practice is in APS, and we think it'll provide more advocacy support for our parents in our community if they knew what's happening, as well as us knowing if we actually have adequate teachers in our schools. And currently, there's no one tracking that information, or there's no dashboard notification system. And so that's a policy initiative of the Education Committee. And so we are going to be working with the Ombudsman of APS to launch a concern about what this looks like and figure out how to get internal regulations around parent notification, because then that would extend knowledge to us as a community. If the kids on the street, it's probably because they ain't got no teachers in the classroom. And then it'll give you insight on crime and other behavioral things that are happening in your neighborhood if you had insight into what's happening in the school building. Last but not least, well, second to last, we donated 200 Christmas hats to Perkinson Elementary, which is inside the Carver cluster. We're working to support Slater, Price, and Carver, which is in our NPU-Y footprint. Just trying to get on their schedule has been tough. They've canceled 2 or 3 meetings with me. So I'll keep you guys posted and see if I can get on their calendar next semester so that we can be a part of that community. But we did go, were able to submit 200 Christmas hats for their Christmas program, and it was beautiful, and the kids sang. It was great. So that was awesome. Last but not least, December 5th, APS voted to sell 17 properties that were recommended to them by their consultant who did their facility master plan, which is a best practice every 10 years. And so they look at projections, demographics, population size based on census data to decide if they're going to need additional capacity for their schools. And based on our demographics, our projections of population in our community and student and the families who send their children to APS, that's important to note that we are missing about 1,500 families or 1,500 kids from our schools that live in our neighborhood because they choose not to send their kids to their neighborhood school. So given that data based on projections and the formula they use, they denoted that we have unoccupied properties that would not be utilized in the next 10 years. And they made the recommendation and the board accepted that recommendation to dispose of those assets. And one of those assets sits in the NPU-Y footprint at Lakewood Elementary School, the former Lakewood Elementary School. And so we would love for people to come to the Education Committee in January and we can discuss potential, ideas and share what we know about the space to the NPU as a whole. I know there's other meetings happening in the neighborhood, and that is awesome. So I would love to hear from more people about, what you want to see and learn more about what you would like to see at the property, because APS has provided space for the NPU and the neighborhood to provide community input. So they would love to hear from us of what we are looking to see if, they're going to sell this property. So I would like for, people to come to the January meeting. It's the second Monday at 6 o'clock so that we can have a discussion about, potential ideas about this particular property. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And we will certainly touch base as an NPU-Y to help push the objective of education in our NPU community. We're going to hold the questions until the end of the committees, please. Next is our communication chair, Kelly Jean. Do you have anything to report?
Nope.
Thank you. I know our bylaws, we do have new bylaws that will come in place in January. So Russell, do you have anything to report?
Hey, everybody. No, I was talking to Jeff because I live on McDonough. I'm very privy to that particular situation. And essentially, because of the fact that, you have to wait for a certain quality of weather, even though they're working towards it, they have to have enough good days where it's not too cold and there's enough sunlight. So the estimate now is early January.
For the McDonough Bridge, yes. Thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate you putting that in the chat.
Madam Chair, I think he did not hear your question vis-a-vis.
I just heard my name. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. I was wondering if you had anything to report as to the bylaws committee.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I do not yet, but I will have something next month. Okay.
Okay. Yep. And next month, just so everybody knows, January is the first month of the new bylaws. So which the bylaws can be found on the NPU-Y.org website.
And Madam Chair, may I ask, Russell, if you need, just reach out and a couple of us will jump on. And I don't think there's a lot of changes, but just for a periodic review, I think they're pretty much the way it was when you were there in the last time you were around. There's been no real significant changes, I don't think.
Awesome.
Thank you. I have Lakewood Oversight. Yolanda, you have the floor. Is Yolanda on? I do not see her on. So we will move on to Lakewood Finance. I believe Nikki Garcia is on. Do you have anything to report?
Well, I'm kind of new to the committee, but I did get the emails that 4 grants were given. One for the soccer field, a couple for cleanup at Treat Street. And I think that's pretty much it. And unless someone else is aware of something more.
Kanika or Jimmy Moore, would you like to address anything in addition?
We are on this Wednesday, I believe it is.
Oh, no.
And I think that's a dinner. It may not be any actual new business to discuss at the meeting. But nothing new to report for this meeting. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Next up is our APAB committee, which Gloria Winnet is our delegate. You have the floor.
Yeah, APAB, because folks are hearing more and more about it. It stands for the Atlanta Planning and Advisory Board. It is a, a conglomeration of 25 NPUs. The best part of APAB, the mission is that we are an advisory group to the mayor, to city council, but the advice comes from all of the consortium, is that word I guess I wanted to use, the consortium of those 25 NPUs. In conjunction with what we do is something called NPU University. And if you Google the planning site, you will see all of the archived classes, and they run the gamut from zoning 101 to parliamentary procedure. So any folks that are considering any of these roles within the community and or NPU-Y or APAB should avail themselves of the, I don't know how many classes, there's probably 25 plus classes. What I really would like to say to you all is that something exciting is about to happen. We had like $4,800 left over from our many years of pandemic, and we are going to sponsor Why It Matters celebration. In years past, Tina Arnold from Lakewood, but NPU-Y was the recipient. There's a recipient from each NPU, so folks should think collectively about who we believe has been a stellar performer in terms of transforming and unconditional service to the NPU. And again, I think we're considering that sometimes early February. So that's what I leave with you all with, considering who we would like to honor at this celebration. Other than that, I encourage you all to tune in on Saturday mornings. Strike that. We're not live on Saturday mornings. We meet the third Saturday of the month from 10 to about 1, but we're the hearings or the machinations of the organization are televised, and you can find them on channel 26 monthly. So it'll give you some idea better than what I'm saying as to what actually comes across the table during those meetings. And it runs the gamut from presenters. Oftentimes the presenters that come to NPU, we already have had some insight into, and Nicole and I are oftentimes able to shape what we believe the relevant questions are around that presenter based on what we get in early production. We're expecting Jasmine Janice. She's our new planning director. We're expecting her to come, and maybe she'll come and speak and introduce herself to the NPU as well. There you are, Nicole.
Thank you, Gloria. Appreciate it. Next is our special projects ad hoc committee, which I am still special projects manager for the current CIG grant, the community impact grant. We are closing out our grant this month. So at the end of the month, it will be closed out. If you were somebody that was to be participating in it, and we have not closed out with you, please reach out. I will drop my email again in the comments, but we do need to have this closed out this month, or those funds will be allocated elsewhere that is congruent with what our grant was approved with. We will be looking for new grant ideas. So as you take the month with your family and take these holiday time, think about what we could do in the community to improve our community as a whole. We do want to look into something that improves all of NPU-Y and is not just for an individual neighborhood. However, please come to us with any ideas as NPU and as our ad hoc committee as I transfer that over in the next few months. So in addition to seeking ideas for the new community impact grant, there will be a new ad hoc committee chairperson. We are looking to pull nominees for that position. So if you or somebody you know wants to work more closely with NPU-Y in a grant oriented role, please reach out to myself as well, or to our secretary email, which is secretarynpy@gmail.com. I will drop both of those in the chat.
Madam Chair, I would direct your attention to a couple of the chats that spoke to the last presentation on the Education Committee.
Yes, well, I'm going to open questions. So let me give the floor over since Paul has had his hand raised, and then we'll go to our chat questions afterwards. So I'm going to open questions to all committees. Paul, you may have the floor.
Well, I said this in the chat. I just wanted the Monique to maybe give us information that there is information that there's not enough elementary school students in the next 10 or 20 years to just in villages in the Carver cluster justify reopening the Lakewood Heights Elementary School. And I just, if Monique can give some references on the school board website that where those statistics are, she says she's going to do it at the next educational meeting. But I believe they're on the website, and I think that would be a good thing for everyone to look at. And that's really the basis for currently suggesting that the Lakewood Heights Elementary School remain closed. That's all I want to say. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Paul. So I'm in my car because I had my tooth pulled today, or field. But I want to say that and Troy, if you're on a computer, if you go to NPU-Y, the folder where you always store the presentations, I want to say I did a presentation in September or October, and I think we uploaded it, but I've done this presentation. So I could also, so the first set is the data around the projections from the Sizemore group. So I can provide that presentation from Atlanta Public Schools, but it's on the Atlanta Public School Board website, and you would type in facility master plan, go and try to find a link from my phone. Y'all know how it is when you look at them on your phone. But it's under facility master plan, and APS's website is a little complicated when it comes to how they organize their information. But I will go and find that presentation, and it'll show you the projections over the next 20 years of each cluster. So it's by cluster. And so we can share that presentation with you all again. So let me try to do that before the meeting ends. The second question, Paul, was what was the second question? The projections, and what was the second question?
Well, I just want to see what the projection is. Like this decision is not made without data, you know, and I think
They paid millions of dollars for the Sizemore group to do this work, and it started before the pandemic, and then they gave an extension to the extension of this contract and gave them more money to come back and continue their facility master planning work after the pandemic. So I will share that presentation and the policy. So there's a policy they just passed and approved in the November board meeting, APS, that includes language that shares that they will seek community input through the NPU and the neighborhood association for any development and asset disposal. So they will seek community input through the conduit of the neighborhood planning unit and neighborhood association. And so they are looking for input, which is why I said in January, let's have a discussion, because they would want to hear from us as a collective and understand what we are looking for in the development of this particular surplus property. So I'll provide the policy, Paul, that they just approved at the November board meeting. And I will provide you the projections presentation from the Sizemore group that was provided to Atlanta Public Schools. And it's on their website under Facility Master Plan. Okay, so let me go find that information. I'll put it in the chat, everyone.
Thank you, Monique. Heather, you have your hand raised. You have the floor.
Well, thanks, Nicole. My comment is also around Lakewood Elementary. Similar to SAP zoning, I think it's reasonable that neighbors in the community are made aware of what's happening with their public properties and are given the right to weigh in, not just a select group from the NPU and private developers. I canvassed this weekend along with other concerned neighbors, and we spoke to probably 40 people at Lakewood Church of Hope, on Adair, and on Rhodesia. I didn't speak to a single person who was aware that APS plans to sell the Lakewood Elementary School on January 9th. We're failing as an NPU and a neighborhood if we're not ensuring our entire neighborhood's voice is being uplifted. So speaking with several neighbors, they're looking to push APS to reopen the school for a public early education age 0 to 5 school. And we've been asked by APS board members to present a proposal to reuse the school. So I just want to make sure that we're getting all those different voices out in the neighborhood, not just a few. Thanks.
Thank you. Gloria, you have the floor.
Yes, thanks. And to that end, there is scheduled tomorrow evening at 2:15 Lakewood Way, which is the City of Atlanta John Burdine Center. There is scheduled I think it's being titled a visioning session starting at 6 o'clock, where just what you heard spoken, there's a desire to get more of Lakewood, but any interested parties to come and do a full flush of a lot of issues. But I think education and 335 Sawtelle, which is the old Lakewood Elementary School. I say old because it's not been functioning for almost 20 years, but there is that opportunity tomorrow to, again, tomorrow at 6 p.m., 6 to 8. And I think it's designed to hear the voice of the community and any allied individuals.
Thank you, Gloria. I'm going to allow 2 more, and then for the sake of time, we do need to move on and we can move this offline. Zachary Murray, you have the floor.
Hi, good evening. I just wanted to encourage the NPU and the executive committee to work really closely and follow Lakewood Heights lead, our community's lead on this, since the school is located in our neighborhood and it immediately affects the neighbors here. And I definitely think that January, just given the lack of notice that our neighbors have about the school in the first place, would be way too soon for the NPU to adopt an official stance. And so I hope that you all will consult with us, our Lakewood Heights Community Association, around what the process should be, since this is a new process that APS has created, for how we can, as a community, reach an official stance that hopefully the NPU will endorse.
Absolutely. And as I put in the chat, NPU is here to enhance and improve the neighborhoods based on the neighborhood's recommendations and what they're seeking. So we're here to really work with the neighborhoods to make sure that your voice is heard throughout the city. So I know that tomorrow with the meeting, you do have multiple representatives of NPU that will be attending the meeting. And hopefully if there is something that does need a vote, that it will be on the Lakewood Heights agenda prior to an NPU agenda. Kelly, you have the floor.
Yeah, I just want to echo what Zachary just said, because there are many of us who live a little bit closer to where the school is, and we're seeking development. We were just made aware today of petitions and different things going around, and so we want to and now I'm hearing from Monique, so it's like I want to make sure that all voices are represented, because many of us want development for that property and not a school.
Thank you for your comments. We are going to move on for our next agenda item. If you do have other comments that you'd like to make, please email Secretary NPU-Y@gmail.com or directly to the committee chair for your directed comment. Thank you all the committees for everything you do and for giving your presentation. Moving on to voting matters. We have 2 items for voting. Our first item is the Circle K 158 Food and Gas that is at 100 Lakewood Way. They are seeking an LRB application. Do I have anybody on the call to represent them?
I'm here. I'm Dana Farkas. I'm a licensing consultant. My client's here also. And we did attend Lakewood Heights neighborhood meeting last week. And everything went well. They did want us to do the real-time integration into the APD cameras. And I did not know enough about it at that time, so I promised I would go get educated, and I did. I immediately emailed Sergeant Thompson, and he put me in contact with the officer who runs the program, or I guess for lack of terms. We do agree to do that. I can't tell you when it's going to happen. I was at the corporate office for Circle K on Friday and explained to them everything that APD gave me, and I gave them the links for the equipment that's required and the security system that it has. So they're checking it out to make sure that the systems that's in the store will work with that, or if they have to change something or get another piece of equipment or whatever. They're trying to figure out how to make it happen. So I just told them about it on Friday. I gave the IT guy the information and the links, and he said, you know, give me a minute to figure out how this is going to happen. And while I was at it, I went ahead and told them that the city is looking out to make this be a requirement for all the stores. They're definitely making the cameras a requirement for all the stores, which all of my clients do have cameras. That's not even the issue. And they're perfectly willing to hook up. And the basic plan allows you to hook up 4 cameras, whichever 4 you choose, which of course would probably be in the parking lot because that's where they want to view. So, you know, yes, we'll do it. I just can't give you the time until Circle K tells me we can hook it up right away, or no, we've got to get some other camera in there, because the cameras that are in there, I think, are from 2014 or maybe somewhere. So they were concerned if they were the proper camera system that would work with it. I don't know enough about IT to tell you any more detail than that. So in short, we're going to do it. I just don't know how quickly, as quickly as the equipment allows. And the other issues they had, they were concerned about the station having been run down with maintenance. And my client had just got through fixing the pumps and cleaning up stations. So I would like to ask if anybody's been by there in the last week since our meeting to see if things are better and what your comments are.
Okay, so before we solicit a motion and open the floor for discussion, I would like to open the floor to somebody from Lakewood Heights to discuss their view of their vote in their community meeting last month.
This is Zach. We voted unanimously to approve with the contingency that they join the VIC system.
Thank you, Zach, and Gloria, because you are on the floor, on the board there as well. I will open the floor to you.
Yeah, thank you, Dana. Only thing that I'd like is that you would forward whoever your contact is, because apparently what I'm hearing is that currently you're unable to integrate your system in real time, and that it's something that is coming forward and you don't know when, but is there any possibility that we can stay on top of it so that it doesn't slip through the cracks?
Absolutely. And it's not that they can't do it. It's just that because it's involves Circle K, they want to make sure that the system is going to work and not interfere with what they use the cameras for. It's not just a matter of just going in and plugging something up and going, okay, we're there. They've got to make sure it's not going to affect what they do with their video, the storage, that sort of thing, and that the piece of equipment that you purchase through this system will integrate with their equipment, or if they have to get something new, or if it's going to take another piece of equipment between the two things to make sure that, you know, everything, they're concerned about people being able to hack into it or do something with it. So their IT guy is looking at all of the technical issues about it. APD, the sergeant, the officer sent me the information, the links to both the equipment so that they can look at it and see. I will be.
Did you get a reasonable time period on that by chance?
They just told me to give them a minute to look at it. So I will go back to them, you know, within the week and say, have you had a chance to look at the information, and push them? Because I told them I needed an answer tonight. And they said the best answer we can give you today on Friday, when your meeting is on Monday, is that I need a minute to look at this and to make sure it's going to work. They're very willing to do it. It's not a matter that they don't want to or they're hesitant. It's just they can't say, oh yeah, sure, just go do it. They have to make sure everything is going to work properly with all the things that they do, which I don't know what those things are. This is just what the IT person that is in charge of videos and hooking up things like that said to me on
But-
Friday afternoon at like 3 o'clock.
Madam Chair, if I could just share one other critical, I guess, data that came from the conversations with APD. Dana, the only concern we have is if the ATM machine was hauled out during regular business hours and they've not been able to identify the perpetrators and they have cameras in the store, it just kind of makes us, because my understanding, much of the reporting really was shoplifting, people running out of the store, but that causes us concern. If they have not been able to discern those perpetrators in broad daylight, we feel even more compelled that they don't stall on integrating the cameras from outside.
They're not stalling. They just, Circle K is not just one store. And this tenant has to do certain things that comply with the way their systems work. So they just have to have a minute to look into how this works, because they didn't know anything about it until I brought it to them. They know the system exists, but they don't know how it works or the equipment that is used to, and the website is very extensive. I mean, there was a lot of information on there and it was way over my head to try to understand it. That's why I had to go and talk to the people because I emailed them immediately after our meeting. And the first thing that came back was, yes, we'll do that. And then secondly was, how do we do it? So I told them I was having that conversation. I had the conversation. I went to corporate and said, here you go. This is what they want. This is how it works. This is what it costs. And they said, okay, we need to look into it. I don't know how else to explain that.
No, thank you. The reliance is on good faith, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, I mean, because you can always come and complain to me. And I tried to get your email address at the meeting, but I wasn't able to get it. I sent you mine. So
I'll forward it to you, Dana. I'll forward it to you.
Okay,
Right.
so you've got my email. So if you'll just reach out to me, then I will stay on top of it and, make sure it happens. Because I think it's a great idea. I mean, and I've told them that they need to work on getting all of the stores to do this method. And also, just a piece of side information, a previous NPU neighborhood wanted one of my locations to purchase one of these, what they called a 12 camera that they thought was monitored by APD all the time. I discussed that with this officer so I could understand that process as well. And he said those are pretty much just for intersections and work with car wrecks, that they're not very helpful with crime at convenience stores. And because of this new integration thing that they have going, those cameras are kind of becoming obsolete. So I was glad to hear that, because one neighborhood in particular pushes for stores to install that expensive camera. And the guy said that they're not monitored constantly, that there is a room where the videos are, but sometimes there's people in there and sometimes there's not. When something happens, then with this integration system, they can go in and look at it without having to call and email and wait for somebody to get back to them. And, the manager might not be there the day they need to go. And so this system gets rid of all that problem. But those $15,000 quote unquote monitor cameras are going out the window.
Thank you. Zachary, you may have the floor.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a motion to approve.
Second, Heather. Okay, so I'll open the floor for discussion. Zach, you still have your hand raised. Do you still have any more comments?
No, I'll lower my hand, sorry.
Okay. Jacob, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, I was just going to ask. I mean, I'm sorry I was catching bits and pieces of this because I was going back and forth between another call, but this particular applicant, just so I can be clear, is asking for a liquor license. Gloria, maybe you can help me with this one, or maybe Zach, or this is in the Lakewood neighborhood. So this particular location, is this the location that had hundreds of petty theft?
No, Circle K. It's right at the end of 166.
So this isn't the one that had all of the petty theft, the 100+ petty theft. Is that was what Major Richter was saying earlier?
I'm not certain. No, that was Captain Pettis on earlier, but I think there has been shoplifting at all of them. I think the petty theft was Family Dollar. That was Captain Pettis earlier. That was Family Dollar. This is right at the end of 166. It's a Circle K BP, I think. As you, I'm not sure if you travel that route.
I do.
Primarily, what's been going on in store shoplifting. I think that's all of them. The most serious thing was the ATM that was moved out during the middle of business hours, and so. But there you are.
Okay. Yeah, I guess my only question would be if petty theft is an issue, and we all know that alcohol sales increases foot traffic and other types of, I don't know how you would say it, maybe devious activities and things. There's such an issue with being able to get surveillance up in the first place. Is there any guarantee from this applicant that the surveillance would be something that becomes a priority and that this doesn't become more of a nuisance for the neighborhood and then also more of a burden for our Atlanta police officers?
If I can address that, Jacob, real quickly, the distinction here, it's called the VIC system. The distinction here is it's to monitor the outside premises in real time versus registering with the VIC system and APD calling and asking if they can have access to the cameras, which is what they would do with citizens. You register and then they call and ask if they can have access. But with the VIC system, officers, while arriving at the scene, can on their MDT actually view what's going on that location or panning on that area. So that's the distinction here. Outdoors, integration with real-time access by APD, strictly the exterior.
Is that, well, I guess then I'll amend my question. And is that something that the applicant would be willing to do as with APD?
That's what Ms. Farkas is intimating, that indeed they will, but there's some. Yeah.
Can we amend the motion to have a clarification that the approval vote is conditioned to the participation of the VIC system?
Amen. Absolutely. That was the motion back at Lakewood, in fact.
I understand that. Can I make a motion for that? That we approve the applicant with the condition that they participate in the VIC system?
Are you asking that Zach amend?
Seconded by Troy Nally.
So I made a motion to approve the applicant.
Madam Chair, point of order. Zach motion and it was second. I think we have to ask him if he wants to amend it, because once it's second, then if you.
Thank you. Zach, would you like to
That's
amend the motion?
But yeah, that was my intent, was to basically approve it on the same condition of what Lakewood was, so that's fine.
And a second for that?
I think there was a second. I think Jacob, is someone second?
By Troy Nally.
Okay. Do we have any more discussion on the floor for the applicant? As I see no raised hands, I'm going to close the floor. We are going to try to do a poll today, so it's a little bit different, but your poll is going to be for the motion that it is an approval based on the condition that the applicant participates in the VIC system. So on your screen here, there will be a question that comes up. And if you have multiple people within your household, please put your secondary household personnel or third or fourth, however many there are, in the chat, so you may vote for all members. The poll has been launched. So you will select yes for approval based on the condition for participation in the VIC system, or no to deny, or to abstain. Again, if you have more than one participant on your chat, on your call, please post that in the chat. Okay, I have 100% participation completed. Do I see any in the chat yet?
Can
Yes, we do.
or admins that are unable, or hosts that are unable to vote in the chat?
Yes, please. So if you are a co-host, please paste your vote in the chat.
Ooh.
If you wish to continue to vote, because co-hosts and hosts are unable to vote.
Madam Chair, I thought I voted. Does that mean I'm co-hosting? I thought I was co-hosting as well. Should I submit?
Did it pull up on your screen to vote?
Yeah, I did.
I don't believe that you should have been able to. It may have just showed you the,
It's, I was gonna say, if you're listed as a co-host, it shows you the voting options, but Gloria, you clicking something didn't actually do anything.
Okay, gotcha. Here it
you.
comes.
so I have 2 in the chat for yes. I'm gonna go ahead and close the vote.
Yes, for me as well. I just sent
Okay.
it.
Thank you. So I'll go ahead and close the vote. So I have 3 in the chat. I don't know if everybody can see my share of the poll, but I have 10 on the poll. So that is 13 yes.
I cannot see it.
Give me one moment, then let me see if I can share the poll for you.
Okay, thanks.
I think I can share it afterwards and not during it. It does not see that it is allowing me to do that.
Madam Chair, when you say sharing, you mean publishing the results? Is that what I'm?
Once you've closed it, you can't anymore.
Oh. Madam Chair, did you hear that? Did you hear?
Close, you can't.
Yeah. Interesting.
Okay, well, I will screenshot it so that way we have a, and then there's also a report that pulls afterwards. So it's not like it's completed. It's not like it's missing. So I have 13 yes, 2 no, and I have 1 on the poll as abstain and 1 in the chat as abstain.
Wait, I'm sorry. I can see that it's sharing now. Can you see it? Under the 3 dots on mine, poll results is one of the things. So anyone should be able to see that. But stop sharing, share results. Is that popping up for you?
Oh, yeah, it is. It is, Kelly. It's the results are there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Kelly. This is why I have 3 co-hosts, because you guys have done this before. Heather, you may have the floor.
A point of order, Nicole, are we able to confirm voter eligibility on this?
Yes, you are. As soon as I stop sharing, there'll be a report that I can send over.
Do you want me to record that in the notes before or after the meeting then, since we don't know who's voting and whether or not they're eligible?
Yep, so when we record it as a tentative vote, and then when we stop sharing, you can pull the report and you can check eligibility.
I think, Madam Chair, if I might, point of order, I think the question I'm hearing is eligibility may need to be predetermined versus, because it could absolutely change the results. Seems highly unlikely in this case with such margins, but I think that was that's the issue I heard, whether it was being raised or not, is that, again, that eligibility should be confirmed in advance of the vote because it could conceivably change this applicant's results.
Yes, so Heather, traditionally, I believe you check eligibility. So if you click the 3 dots, you're able to view results from browser or download results. I think it's download results, gives you a PDF and it shows each person listed.
We can chat after the fact. I just know this has been a point of contention in other neighborhoods, so wanted to make sure. I can only relaunch poll as the host, but we can connect after since I would assume that this is a pretty landslide of a vote.
Okay, so it is a tentative vote is how I would score it at this moment. And then I'm pulling them so I can actually share it over correct right now. So yes, I will share the results during the meeting and actually share the whole poll. So tentatively, there is a approval. The motion carries as yes approval, contingent upon the VIC system integration. And real quick, I'm just dropping the results in the chat for you guys. Okay. Heather, do you want to take time to look at this now, or would we like to move forward?
We can move forward.
Thank you. Next on the agenda was the Quick Pick Food Mart, which was amended at the beginning of the agenda to be taken off as a voluntary deferral. They will be placed on the January agenda. Next is old business, which we do not have anything listed on the agenda for old business. And we have no listings for new business either. Our announcements this month, our January NPU-Y general body meeting will be held on Tuesday, January 17th at 7 p.m. This is due to Martin Luther King Day. So as to the holiday, just as every other meetings and trash pickup is moved to the next day, we will be doing the same and holding it on the following Tuesday.
Madam Chair, point of order, we overlooked Senior Solicitor Burns from the municipal court. She is present to give a report.
You may have the floor.
Good evening, Madam Chair. I think this is my first time being in the meeting since you became the chair. So good evening, NPU-Y. Very quick announcements. We are still open at the courthouse. We are obviously during this downtime with the court working on those nuisance property actions, basically just trying to scope out the issues in each community. So I would encourage you all, if you are having problems with any properties or businesses in your NPU, please don't forget to reach out to me. My email is uburns@atlantaga.gov, and I will put all of that in the chat as well. And if I don't see you all before then, you all have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Solicitor Burns?
I might just raise one, Madam Chair. I think folks are still wanting to understand what does it mean nuisance properties. They're not sure if that means grass or overgrowth. If Solicitor Burns, you can just kind of give us what your office has been seeing and what qualifies.
So anything that kind of falls under either code enforcement violations, a number of code enforcement violations, as well as criminal activity. So I think I heard you all talking about a gas station that had a multitude of thefts or something happening at. So I'm really interested to know what that property is, because we're looking at calls of service and to ensure that the business owners are doing their very best to keep your community safe and doing what they can do and should be doing to facilitate that. So if we can help them along by encouraging our nuisance actions, then that's what we'd like to do.
Madam Chair, I might add that that Family Dollar is probably the best candidate. Everybody that lives in and around it can probably provide her with a dossier of complaints, but that Solicitor Burns DM'd me and to let me know she came in a little bit later and missed Captain Pettis, his report on that Family Dollar. So any and everyone listening, particularly along Adair and Claire, might want to provide the information, and of course the police reports, which I think we previously forwarded them, did we not, Solicitor Burns, the ones that occurred in the last year at that location, mainly
Yes,
shoplifting. Go ahead.
No, I believe you did to one of the other solicitors in my office, but you can also send those to me, because in 2023, I will have a stronger presence in the code enforcement courtrooms. So I look forward to seeing some of you all there, to back, and express your concerns about these properties.
Thank you, and congratulations for your senior status.
Thank you so much. And we appreciate you all support in coming to court.
Thank you. I appreciate you hopping on the call for us. And if there is any information that you need, we can reach out to Secretary NPU-Y@gmail.com and we can get you any additional information.
It sounds great. Thank you.
Appreciate it. So moving on to our presentations, I would like to motion to add 30 minutes to the meeting as it is almost 9 o'clock.
Second, Madam Chair.
Okay, so we approved, or sorry, can we vote to motion to approve adding 30 minutes by slate vote? Please raise your hand if you are in objection to. I see Nikki has her raised hand.
No, I misunderstood. I'm not
That's okay.
objecting.
Got you.
Lower the hand.
So
Okay.
with no other raised hands, I will approve the motion to add 30 minutes to the meeting. Moving to our first presentation is for Duke Hill Properties. They are seeking a letter of support for Invest Atlanta. You may have the floor.
Madam Chair, I don't believe anyone from Duke Hill is Corey's not here.
No, I
Corey
don't
Oliver.
see her on here either. I did send out their information, so due to them not being on, I think it is best that we would defer. So would
Mhm.
anybody like to solicit a motion to defer? Troy, you have the floor.
Motion to defer.
Second,
Okay.
Nikki.
Sorry, I have a question. Was this a voting matter, or I think this is just because she hasn't come to, she's presented at Lakewood, but not on a voting matter yet. So I think this is just a general presentation.
It is a general presentation. However, the way that Invest Atlanta works is that they do have to get a letter of support from NPU-Y, which it would be us actually voting to give a letter of support. I know that she did not go before Lakewood Heights, so I was going to recommend that we defer to go back to the community anyways. But since they are not here, it is very easy for us to defer at this point.
Oh, no, she did come to Lakewood Heights. I'm just clarifying whether she was attempting to get the letter of support this evening.
That was my understanding, yes.
Okay.
My understanding is a little bit differently. She's not here this evening because she recognizes that the no mandate nor requirement, but the policy, quasi policy of the NPU is that it's vetted at the local community, and there was no vote at the local community. I think she recognizes that the NPU will require some affirmation or not of her requests.
Yes, and I
Yeah,
have
thanks,
not,
Gloria. That's the point I was trying to raise. Thanks, Gloria.
yes, correct. And I have not heard from her since the prior to the Lakewood meeting where we had spoke. So Paul, you have the floor.
Yes, as we know in our own community, Chosford Park, this process is regularly not followed. You know, and the people show up at the Invest Atlanta with or without a visit to the community or the NPU. So I would think that we should look at the Invest Atlanta agendas, and that you should send a note to them if you see this group appear on the agenda without the opportunity for them to make their visits to the community and the NPU.
Absolutely, and I can get with Zach to send the appropriate letter based on how it was presented at Lakewood Heights.
Yeah, if I could just clarify, Ms. Honoré has attended 2 Lakewood Heights meetings.
Okay.
And I think her intent this evening, based on our communication, was to give the same informational presentation. For example, she hasn't presented the architectural renderings or anything yet. That's what she promised to present at the next meeting. And so I think, I don't believe this is a voting matter this evening.
Okay, as it was placed on the agenda from city planning, it was to be a voting matter, and I did not hear any different. So I think that a deferral would be our way to handle, because it is on here, we do have to either vote yes to approve, no to deny, or to defer. Zach, or sorry, Jacob, you have your hand raised.
Yes, I was just going to add to Paul's comment regarding the Invest Atlanta. I would like to see the NPU's recommendations for any of the applicants that are requiring or requesting funding from Invest Atlanta. I believe it's important, you know, for Invest Atlanta. They're a major stakeholder and a lot of new developments that are and playing a big part of new developments that are coming into neighborhoods. So I think it's very important that they listen to the recommendations of the NPU, and especially if someone's asking for funding, I would love to see what the response is from local communities regarding any SAPs or rezoning or any new developments that are asking for funding. from Invest Atlanta to be able to have the NPU's input. So that's my comment.
Thank you, Jacob. Troy, you can have the floor.
Yes, we have with the Invest Atlanta applications, as long as it's denoted on the form that's submitted to the city of the voting matters by Anna, if she says a no-show, and then we also denote to Daniel, then Daniel would send it over to Invest Atlanta to defer.
Thank
Just
you.
a note. Yep.
Yes, thank you for your advisory role. I very much appreciate it. All right, so the motion, I will close the discussions if there are no more hands raised.
Madam Chair, question, we will be reaching back out to her, will we not? Yeah, okay.
Absolutely. So the motion on the floor is to defer Duke Hill Properties letter of support request. We will use the same launch for the poll, so please bear with us this month while we use this for the first time. So as you motion, yes would be to defer, no would be not to defer, abstain would be to abstain from deferral. Okay, so we have all participants in the chat. Let's see. I'll just give it 15 more seconds. Okay, so closing the vote. Now, are you able to see the share results on your screens?
Yes, Madam Chair, we are.
Okay, so as of right now, which is a tentative vote, we have one yes chat in the chat, so that would make it 14 yes. I have 0 no's, and I have 2 abstentions in the chat, so that would make that 3 abstentions. So tentatively, the motion carries as a deferral. And as before, I will download the results and put that in the chat. Moving to our next agenda item, we have Canopy Atlanta presenting. You may have the floor.
One last question from the last item, Madam Chair. So it's a deferral versus us sending it forward as a no-show, is that correct?
I believe they represented the same thing. They didn't show up. So the way that I was informed was Invest Atlanta presentations do require a vote. So if there is a no-show, we can still choose to vote yes, no, or defer. However, since we have been working with them as a community of Lakewood Heights and as NPU-Y, we've been in communication with them for the best interests of them and most likely the best interest of the neighborhood, it would be to defer them back to the neighborhood. If we were to say that they were a no-show and not vote, that doesn't give us any difference than a deferral.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure. Do I have anybody here from Canopy Atlanta? Jania, you may have the floor.
Yes, I was trying to unmute. I'm sorry. Thanks for having me. I'm gonna see if I can share my screen.
Let me just give you access. You should be good to go.
Okay. Oops, I didn't mean to. It's just doing what it wants to do. Okay, thanks for having me. And I have been talking with people in Lakewood Heights for a couple of weeks now, but I wanted to present to the NPU as well to let them know who we are and what we're doing. We pretty much, our tagline is journalism for Atlanta by Atlanta. And we take a collaborative approach to journalism. We set up a temporary newsroom in your neighborhood. We meet your people and we equip your neighborhood to write its own narrative. And at the end result will be a newsletter about Lakewood Heights and South Atlanta. It's our goal. This is much of our team. Many of them were journalists for the last 20 years, and they recognized that they needed to do something differently in the area of journalism. We want to work with communities to build trust, to promote community engagement and civic involvement. So these are some traditional journalists who decided to do journalism a different way. Our community issues are based on the neighborhood reporting series. We train and collaborate with Atlantans to report their own stories. So when we come to Lakewood Heights, we look for a community editorial board from Lakewood Heights. We look for people that want to be journalists in Lakewood Heights, and we pair them with other professional journalists, and they write their own stories. So we actually write in conjunction with the community. Here's our method. We listen, we learn about the community and its priorities. We train and report. We pay community members to learn the art of journalism alongside award-winning reporters, and then we publish. We share what we've been working on with the entire community, and have an edition, a Lakewood Heights, South Atlanta edition. This is just some of the work that we did in Grove Park. That community told us that they wanted to find Officer Gray, who was a community policeman. And we did the research and went to find him and had a community conversation about community policing with Officer Gray in the Grove Park community. I've already talked about this, that we train Atlanta communities to become journalists, to tell their own stories, to control their own narratives. And we also have a program called the Atlanta Documenters, and that's when we train and pay residents to attend and report on public meetings. They could be anything from a school board meeting to a Atlanta City Council meeting. We actually send we train those people to listen and take notes, and we publish those notes to promote civic involvement in all neighborhoods that we work in. So that's our Atlanta Documenters program, and we are Canopy Atlanta. If you have any questions, I'll put my information in the chat, and I will also put our website in the chat. And you will see me at a couple of meetings in the coming months as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jania. I will open the floor for any comments or questions. Okay, I see no hand raised. If you can please.
Oh,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Mike.
Can kids join? Or what's the age requirements?
Oh, yes, we do work with teens as well. Especially older high school students and college students, we do work with them as well.
Is there an age limit, is a requirement for them to participate as a documenter?
As a documenter, 18.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for the benefit of the body? Jania, if you can please put your information in the chat, and we look forward to having you on upcoming meetings.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, so on our agenda, the next is our planners report. Anna, I will hand this over to you.
Thank you. Hey, everyone. So just two quick announcements tonight. First, our NPU University offers free courses in community leadership, planning, and civic participation. NPU University will be back in January with an exciting curriculum for 2023, including a community planner certification program. Thank you to everyone who took one of our classes this year, and I will put the link in the chat to register for courses and for more information. You can also call the phone number 404-546-0158 or visit the website. And again, I'll put a link in the chat that has all of that information. The Atlanta Zoning 2.0 project, it's a comprehensive process to rewrite the existing zoning ordinance. Please plan to join us in the new year as the Office of Zoning continues to host focused workshops. Citywide Alternatives Continued will be held on Tuesday, January 17th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. At the RICE 504 Fair Street, Southwest Atlanta, Georgia, 30313. Please visit atlzoning.com for more details. And I will put the link in the chat right now. And those are the only updates I have tonight.
Thank you so much for your report, Anna. Before we adjourn the meeting, I just want to open the floor for any more comments, questions, or discussions. Please raise your hand if you'd like to make any comments or questions. Gloria, you have the floor.
Yeah, Anna, thank you for such a seamless process last month. I know it was your first, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you running our elections.
It was a little bumpy, but we got through it.
That's okay. We did well. I hand the floor over to Jimmy Moore.
Hey, real quickly, just wanted to bring back up the issue of deindustrialization of the Lakewood corridor, i.e. the large amount of truck traffic that we have on Pryor, Clare, Lakewood Terrace, and Jonesboro. And seemingly the truck traffic is not making any deliveries in those immediate in the immediate area. They're just basically using the neighborhood as a cut through to get to whatever destination that they're trying to get to. I know McDonough Road Bridge has contributed to that increase in truck traffic, but nonetheless, would like to deindustrialize the corridor and force those trucks to enter only with the purpose of making pickups or deliveries, which shouldn't be that much, if at all, in the Lakewood neighborhood specifically, and as well the Jonesboro corridor in general. If we could force that truck traffic around 285, and if they have to come in, maybe come through Moreland and up Jonesboro, but like I said, stay out of the Lakewood Heights neighborhood and the Jonesboro corridor as well. If we can, that's been a previous subject, but as the neighborhood develops, it's going to bring additional traffic just organically from people and that sort of thing. So it's already bad as it is now. If you continue to have that truck traffic, it's just going to get worse. So I would like to revisit that.
Absolutely, we can. Let's get in a chat together, email offline, and see who we need to reach out to at, especially at GDOT, and see what we can do about forcing them to not use residential roads, because I think that is probably our major concern, that they're not able to use their state roads. I know that GDOT has had a transfer of who their point of contact is, and it's been very difficult over the last few months to reach out to anybody. However, somebody has been appointed. I do not have their contact in front of me. However, I can get that over to you.
All right, I'll be glad to help with that.
I appreciate it. Yeah, we'll talk offline about that. Monique, you have the floor.
Hello, everyone. I forgot to mention that a vacancy in the board for our at-large 9-seat came available, and there were 4 finalist candidates that were recommended by the board, and so they will make a final decision in the coming days. And so we'll have a new at-large board member of seat 9, and there were several candidates, and they chose 4 finalists. And so once I hear more information about who the candidate is, I want you to know that you're able to not only email your actual board member, which for District 1 is Katie Howard, for District 6 is Ishay Collins. You also have 3 board members that are at large, and this seat was Jason Estevez. He was elected into a state Senate seat, and so now we will have a new at-large board member. And so I want to encourage you all to also reach out to your board members that are at large, because they're also representing you too. And so not only can you reach out to Ishay Collins or Katie Howard, you can also reach out to those 3 at-large seats. And right now there's Cynthia Briscoe Brown in one, and
Tamara.
Tamara, thank you. She's new. And Tamara in the other. And so Tamara Jones in the other. And so the third seat, we're waiting on who that final candidate. They did community input sessions on Facebook Live. So you can go back and review those on Atlanta Public Schools APS board. And they have all of them archived, and you can hear their responses of what they said and kind of listen. While we don't have input on their decision, in November, this seat will come up again, and then we'll have to vote for the next person that'll sit in the at-large seat of District 9. So this appointment is for 12 months, okay? So I just want to make sure everybody's clear that we are getting a new at-large board member, and especially with this elementary school challenge that we're having, if you want to talk to somebody, then you'll have a new board member to talk with in January as well. So, and I also welcome to go to the Lakewood meeting tomorrow, or the meeting that's about vision planning. So thank you all for your input via chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Monique. Are there any more questions, comments, or concerns that anybody would like to raise for the general body? All right, I see no hand raised. I would like to ask Heather if we were able to confirm eligibility prior to closing out the meeting.
I believe Kelly Jean is the VP of membership, but I scanned through and I believe everybody is eligible.
Okay, thank you. What we will do, since this is the first time that we have done a poll vote, we will do a quick announcement on the next agenda as to the final vote, just for clarification and transparency for everyone. So I would like to motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved. Madam Chair. Oh.
Thank you. We will do a slate vote. Those in favor, just say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
And those opposed, say aye. All right, thank you so much. I appreciate you all attending the meeting, and apologies for going over a couple minutes, but thank you for bearing with us this month while I get used to running the meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Excellent job. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great holiday.
Happy holidays. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everyone.